Iceland is a small island nation located in the North Atlantic Ocean. It's one of the most geologically active places on Earth and home to roughly 130 volcanoes. It's known for being one of the most beautiful and rugged locations in the world. I've rented a car and I'm setting out on a solo road trip to see and experience as much of the country as I can in 2 weeks. I caught a red-eye flight from Toronto, landing in Keflavik at 6:30 in the morning. I immediately jumped in my car and started to explore. This here is Lake Kleifarvatn in the not too far from the airport, like maybe an hour from the airport. There's some nice hot springs and vents just down over there where there's steam puffs. And I'm kind of out of breath here because I just ran up a hill to get to this viewpoint. So it's a very big lake. And it's in the middle of nowhere. And still some snow up on the peaks up there. And you can kind of see the road winding through there. It's just a dirt track, which is why I had to rent an all-wheel drive. And there's my car and the hill that I just ran up. Welcome to Iceland! Leaving Kleifarvatn behind, I stopped at the ruins of Selatangar, an old fishing village on the coast surrounded by moss-covered lava fields. From there, I made my way to Reykjavik to check into my hostel. I needed to grab a quick nap before checking off a major life goal. I was heading to Silfra to dive. This was my first ever dry suit dive, so I had enough to worry about without bringing a camera underwater with me. Diving between 2 continental plates was an incredible experience. Knowing that the land was actively splitting apart all around me was humbling to say the least. The next day, I left Reykjavik behind and hit the road. My destination was the Westfjords. I've been driving on some pretty crazy roads all day. I've still probably got another hour or 2 to go until I get to my destination for the night. But I've been driving past scenery like this all day. It's been pretty spectacular. You can see how bright it is out. It's already 6 o'clock in the afternoon, it's still full daylight. And here is what I came to see, which is Dinjandi Waterfall. Just thought I'd share since I'm finally on a road where I can drive with one hand. This is without a doubt the nicest road that I have been on since I left Reykjavik this morning. There's actually room to pass for two-way traffic, which is nice, and there isn't a 500-foot drop-off with no shoulder on the other side. But yeah, this is basically the type of road I've been driving all day, just with more potholes, less room, and more room for error if you screw up. Just wanted to do another quick little video to show you the landscape I've been driving through for the last half hour or so. If it wasn't for the little patches of snow here and there, you could be forgiven for thinking there is just nothing around here. I arrived at my hostel in Korpudalur in the early evening. I had picked up some snacks on the road, and after pausing for a quick bite to eat, I headed out to explore. This far north, at this time of year, the sun doesn't really set. Before I knew it, it was 10 p.m. and still full daylight. I forced myself to try to sleep, but I was too excited to rest. Tomorrow, I'm headed to Ísafjörður to go sea kayaking, and I cannot wait. Our day on the water started out great. I was joined on the guided tour by an American couple, and we left shore in perfect conditions. After lunch, though, the wind turned against us, and it was a hard paddle back to our pickup point. It was an exhilarating but exhausting day on the water. Leaving Isafjordur behind, I continued my journey along the north coast to the town of Dalvik. By this point, I was not feeling great. It seems like I picked up a cold on my flight. Luckily, I arrived on a public holiday and the hostel was empty except for me, so I was able to get a good night's sleep to recover. I was headed to the island of Grimsey. It's a 3-hour ferry from Dalvik, and it's the only part of Iceland that's north of the Arctic Circle. I continued my journey through the north of Iceland. The natural attractions and scenery were amazing. It was a never-ending parade of waterfalls and canyons and hot springs, and it was absolutely a highlight of my trip. So this is Namafjall, just outside Mývatn. It's a very geologically active area. And as you can probably see, there's a hell of a lot of flies here. So you might want to come visit on a windy day so they get blown off. Yeah, there's a lot of vents here. Lots of boiling mud. Steam pots. Bit of everything. And all these flies, they don't actually bite, but they're just really annoying. They seem to really like eyes and ears. So anyways, there is a quick view of Namafjall, just outside of Mývatn in the north of Iceland. Leaving the north coast behind, I continued on the ring road east before finally heading south. My destination was the town of Hoffen and the spectacular Vatnajökull Glacier. And welcome to Vatnajökull Glacier in the south of Iceland. It's the largest glacier in Europe. And we're out here on snowmobiles. There's a lot of us. This is where the glacier meets the sea, and these bergs are chunks of ice that have calved off the glacier and they're drifting out to open water. You get seawater mixing with fresh water, and then once you get into the lagoon itself, it is absolutely pure, fresh, clear drinking water. It's also one of the deepest lakes in Iceland. There's a local beer that uses this water called Vatnajökull, funny enough. It's a very good beer if you get a chance to try it. So you can see there's a lot of icebergs. Some of them are quite black, and that is ash from when the volcano Eyjafjallajökull erupted a couple of years ago. This entire area was just blanketed in heavy, thick black ash. It's mostly returned to white now, but it was pretty messy for a while there. And you can see the glacier Vatnajökull off in the distance. I continued to make my way west along the south coast past some pretty dramatic shorelines. I was headed to Skaftafell National Park to hike and wander wherever the wind took me. So I'm here in Skaftafell National Park in the south of Iceland. And way across the plains out there is the ocean. There's a little bit of everything in this park. Mountains, rivers, hiking, glaciers, ocean. A few waterfalls as well. I've been up here hiking for about an hour and a half, 2 hours now, and I have not come across one other person. So I've had this beautiful landscape entirely to myself, just sharing it with the whimbrels and the snipes that you can hear calling in the background there. It's just like everywhere else in Iceland. If you make the effort to come here, you just get all this stunning nature with no one else around. It's perfect. Yet another glacier here in Iceland. This one was a bit of a trek to get to, so it's actually completely deserted, which is nice. I'd been hoping to do something really cool and really stupid and jump on one of those icebergs over there. Unfortunately, there's a river in between me and them that I cannot get across, so stupidity will have to wait for another time. As you can see, the glaciers receded a long way over the years. These are the terminal moraines down here, for all you geology students who remember what a terminal moraine is. And there's the rest of the lagoon with a few bergs floating around. I'm just maybe about 20-30 kilometers east of Vik right now, and I'm not sure if this plain is glacial or volcanic, but it's very flat, soft, black sand. I came out here to see this giant rock. Very beautiful, just kind of pops up out of nowhere in the middle of these sand flats. There's a lot of nesting birds around here as well. You can maybe hear them in the background. I'm probably not supposed to be out here at all with a rental vehicle, but I saw the road, so I took it. The road actually keeps going, I think, all the way around this, but from here on in the sand gets really, really soft, and there's a couple of river crossings, and I just didn't want to get bogged down, so this is the end of the line for me. Alright, I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to hear me over top of all the wind up here, but we'll give it a go. This is the spectacular view from the top of Hurlifufti. I think I'm pronouncing that right, so sorry if I totally butchered that. This is a large volcanic monolith that's in the middle of these wide open plains of flat sand. I'm just headed down now. I think this is the easy trail that I'm going down, which I wish I had known about before I started this trek, because I came up the hard way in that gully way across the top of this thing. It was almost straight up. You can see Vatnajökull in the background there again. Big old glacier that's everywhere on this island. And the plains and the flat plains again that I drove across this morning. And apart from the view, the reason that I came up here was to see this, which is a homestead. Some crazy guy actually lived up here, and it says on the sign that he was the second settler ever on Iceland. I made my way back to Reykjavik, where I would be based for the last couple of days of my visit. First up was a day trip into the Golden Circle to see Kerrid, Gullfoss, and Geyser. I'm about 30 kilometers north of Selfoss right now, on my way up to Gullfoss and Geyser. This area is known for volcanic craters. I've got one small one right in front of me there. You can see it's almost on top of another one, and there's a third one in the back and behind there, and another smaller one on the ground down below there. All those cottages and everything were actually on the edge of Thingvellir National Park right here. can see, it's another beautiful day. And this is the big crater that everybody comes to see. It was created in a volcanic eruption about 6,500 years ago. And it's about 150 meters deep, and there's about 20 meters of water down in the base. And yes, there is a trail down there and a park bench, so you can go and sit and enjoy the view of the crater. So I'm here at Geyser, about 80 kilometers north of Reykjavik. It's a very popular tourist destination here, and everybody's here to see the same thing, which is this geyser, which we actually took the word from the Icelandic geyser in English. It tends to blow pretty regularly, usually every 4 to 5 minutes, so it should hopefully be going anytime now. As you can see, it can get kind of crowded, so if you want to get away and get a bit of peace and quiet, there's a couple of peaks nearby, one of which I'm on right now. Really short, easy climb. You get a nice view of the whole area, which is fantastic. So hopefully Geyser won't be a diva and will show up on time sometime in the next few seconds here. And there it goes. I'm just panning out here. You can see it's not the only hot pool around here. There's a few other steam vents, and there's a little geyser as well nearby, but that's the big one that everybody comes to see.
Next, it was time to get back out on the water for some whale watching. A couple of shy minke whales made a brief appearance, but it was the dolphins that hung around to put on a show. I had one last adventure planned before saying goodbye to Iceland. I signed up for a guided tour to hike across the lava fields to see the volcano Thrunicagiga.
So this is what the inside of a volcano looks like. Bumper cars. Oh, this is awesome. Welcome to the inside of a volcano. This is the only place on Earth where you can actually descend inside the magma chamber of a volcano. We're about a half hour outside Reykjavik. We just came down through that tiny hole up there. We've descended about 120 meters, which is about the size of the Statue of Liberty. And And now we are inside a volcano.
My time in Iceland was far too short. The landscape is rugged and harsh, but stunningly beautiful at the same time. Witnessing the raw power of the planet actively creating new land before my eyes is indescribable. On this trip, I really only had time to see the coast and the major tourist highlights. I would love to come back again and see more of what this incredible country has to offer.